Yes, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. This is the show where we spend an hour and 10, hour and 15 answering any questions that people may have for anyone that cares about anything that we've got to say. I'm sure there are many that don't. This show is not for them. Stel, happy Wednesday. How are you?
Yes, hello, shalom, mazel tov, guten tag, yasu, bonjour, salam alaikum to all our audience members around the world. How are you?
Superb. Love it. Exactly what I was going to say next. Look, just quickly before we get to the questions, get your questions in. I've got some saved. I've got a couple that were put to me on YouTube earlier that I will go through. And let me know. I feel like I might look a little bit dark on screen. I'm not sure. Hopefully I'm lit up enough for people. Guys and girls, and what I will say is shamelessly, here is the link I'm going to put into the chat. This is for the 24-hour charity stream, which I'm crazily doing another one this Friday, 8 p.m. through to Saturday, 8 p.m. There's going to be quizzes, shirt auctions, live watch-alongs. I'm sure we're going to have lots to row and debate about. Danny and I always find something to completely disagree and row on. Lubo, I'm sure, will say something I completely disagree with. But, hey, we're all going to be there, so please join us for that. Look, Stel, just before we get to the questions, it feels like a long time now since we've played. We're not used to that this season. I'm actually quite bored. I take it back. I used to say, I can't believe how many games we're playing. It's getting a bit boring. Bring it back. Playing every 8 days is not the one. Have you missed us? Have you missed Spurs playing?
Savva, I've loved it. I've absolutely loved the break. No arguing. Ange is in, Ange is out. The Levy protests, just for now, we don't need to put any effort into it because there's no games. Is Johnson good? Is Tell a waste of time? Is Maddison good enough? Kulu's the best? No, he's not. It's just been nice not to have these constant splits in opinion. And I've just, it's just chilled, Savva. You know what? We need it as well. Once in a while, we need it because you get so consumed and sucked in by it. You end up taking a step back saying, what the fuck's happening to me? What the hell is... So it's nice. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. Listen, every now and then you need it. To be honest, I'll be honest. I did a watch on last night on Big Up of Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid. I tell you what, it was lovely to watch a game where every single player is really good. Like everyone can control a ball. The teams are tactically drilled. Do you know what I mean? It was just lovely to watch that kind of quality. And listen, there'll be more Champions League stuff tonight as well. I'm going to do a live score show. I might do it on YouTube instead of Big Up tonight. I don't know, but stay tuned for that. Listen, there's questions going in. I am saving them as I go along. So the first question was a question that I got from Morton Barley, my old pal Gary. And he said this. He said, question for tonight, please. If Levy offered to sack Ange and bring in Marco Silva next season with a budget of £100 million for the summer, would you rather take that or would you keep Ange but give him a £200 million budget to buy players in the summer? Which would you prefer? And I like that as a question. And I'm going to make you answer that first, Stel. Ange and 200 mil or Marco Silva and 100 mil?
Well, Ange has spent 350 million and we're still tactically wide open. We're still hit or miss and I'm not convinced. So do I want to give him another 200 million? I would take Marco Silva because I think he would get better out of what we've got now. And the extra 100 million can go towards making it an even stronger squad with a manager who tactically is far superior. If anyone's watched Fulham this season, just look at the players they're using. You've got Arsenal rejects in there. They lost... they've signed some good players like the striker from Wolves, and they signed Anderson from Crystal Palace. So they seem to get the most out of their signings with Silva, and tactic, they're far better than Spurs. So For me, it's a no-brainer. I'd take Marco Silva and 100 million.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I feel that I've said this the whole time he's been here, and people seem to not agree with me. I don't think the squad is anywhere near as bad as what we're seeing still. I truly believe there's some good players in there. I'm not going to go overboard still. You know me. I don't go overboard about players. But I do think that we've got a lot more quality than what we're actually seeing by being this wide open. So when I look at Marco Silva, what he's done with, like, look at Lukic and Sander Berg in midfield. If we had signed those two players, everyone would have lost their minds. But look at how well drilled they are. People like Iwobi, Harry Wilson, Willian's about 408, and he's still doing bits for them. He's done a really good job with Jimenez, Muniz. You know, look at the back. People like Calvin Bassey, Anderson. He does a great job with limited resources. So I agree on that. I think
Iwobi's the real standout though, because at Arsenal they all wrote him off. He went to Everton, they wrote him off. He's gone to Fulham. He's one of their key players now. He's a key part of that team. So, you know, you got to look at the manager. You got to ask yourself, what's the manager done differently to Everton and Arsenal's coaching staff and managers? So,
mate, do you know the funny thing as well is, you know, when all I ever hear is, oh, we've lost Harry Kane. You think in the last two windows, so in the last two summers, they've lost Mitrovic, who was their main goal scorer, and they've lost Paulinho the year after, who was their main midfielder.
Number 6. Yeah.
And yet they're getting better. Like, you know, how have they galvanized lose it? Like, I'm not saying Mitrovic is Kane, but to them, he was their Harry Kane. He was their talisman. Look, a good question.
And we lose Højbjerg, Eric Dyer, and Emerson Rowe, and we got worse.
Yeah, mate, absolutely.
We got worse.
Bring them back. Bring back the Deadwood, apparently. A question that was left under the post. Let me see if I can find it. Here it was from Drop Kick Your Teacher. That's a great name. Drop Kick Your Teacher has said, would you be nervous if we went to penalties in this tournament? One thing is for sure, keep Basuma and Johnson away from the ball. Stel, would you be nervous if this lot had to go to a penalty shootout?
Yeah, of course, it's penalties. I'd be nervous even if we had 4 Harry Kanes and Modric on the pitch. I'd be nervous. It's penalties. Yeah. You never know, right? Penalties are penalties. It's so unpredictable.
Yeah, it's absolutely mad, isn't it? Like I saw what you said before the Liverpool game, and you were talking about you wait until they hear that music. You wait until they're under the floodlights. And and we did. We actually absolutely shit ourselves. Now imagine that we're lining up on. They're all lining up on the halfway line. The long walk to the penalty spot. Yeah, I'm shitting myself. I'm completely honest. There's loads of questions, so let's see if we can get through some of them. There's loads of questions today. Keep getting them in, people. This question from my mate Sean, who came on the other day. Big up, Shawnee J. Daniel. We don't agree on anything. He said, good afternoon. What 11 would you start versus AZ with Kulu? I'm guessing that hurts. So Kulu is out. Reports tell that Solanke, Van der Ven and Romero are all going to be in the squad. But what 11 would you go for tomorrow night in Holland?
Well, I think you need to start with players who are fit. So I'm going to keep Romero, Solanke and Van der Ven out on the basis they're not fit. Okay, if they are, it's a tricky one because you don't want to injure them straight away. So I would go Vicario, Spence at left back, Porro at right back. And I'd go with a back two of Danzo and Archie Gray. Mm-hmm. At least they've played together for the last 3-4 games. There's some kind of partnership there.
Yeah.
Van der Ven is 100% fit and he's got 45 minutes in him. I'd either start him or bring him on at halftime. But he's got to be fit.
Yeah.
And then in midfield, I think you've got to play Basuma in the 6, right? You just have to. I'd play Benton Court in the 8 and then Maddison in the 10. And across the front 3, I would actually go Son up front And on the left, I would either play Matthias Tell, who I think that is his best position, or I would start Odebert. And then on the right, we're stuffed because Kulu's out. Would I start Mikey Moore? Probably not. Only on the basis that he's the best tap-in merchant in the club. I would start Brennan Johnson because if we do get one or two of those passes to the back post, 9 times out of 10, Johnson's the one that's going to score it. So I'd go Odebert, Son, Johnson, front three. And by no means do I think that's great. I'm going with what we've got.
Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. I listen from my point of view. I agree with you. I just think it would be crazy. I don't want to see a Chelsea. And what I mean by that, I don't want to see Van der Ven and Romero both start the game, and then we're looking a little bit shaky. You can see they're both not fit. You know, they're both not putting 100% in because they don't want to get injured. I don't want to see that. And with Solanke as well. I think we've got enough without these players. We should have enough to be beating AZ Alkmaar from what I've seen of them this year. Let's.
Sorry, Savva. Sorry. I take it. I just remember something. I'd play Bergvall in the 10 and play Maddison in the front three instead. Sorry, I played Maddison in the front three. I forgot about Bergvall. I would actually play Bergvall in the 10 because I think he's a 10. And I'd like to see Maddison in the front three because he can score goals. Maddison has got goals in him. So I'd have him in that front three.
It's going to be interesting to see what he does, isn't it? Because obviously with Kulu out now, you've got to start Maddison. You've got to. We need creativity. You've got to start him. So let's see what happens on that front. Let's get to the next question. Thanks, Sean, for that question. Where's the next one? Here we go. Paul Summerfield. Big up to you, Paul, as a channel member. Hello. Has said, best manager you never had, and the same, but the player you wished you'd signed but didn't. The best manager you never had. I mean, it would be really obvious, wouldn't it, to go for like a Pep or a Sir Alex Ferguson, but should we go maybe with, I'll tell you what, let's answer this question still. Maybe a player we were close to signing or a manager that we were in talks with, for example. Otherwise, I'm just going to say Lionel Messi and Pep Guardiola. You know what I mean? So let's keep it somewhat realistic.
Well, look, best manager, any of the greats, Fergie, Pep, Ancelotti, any of the greats. You know, I don't know what manager we were close to signing, but we didn't. I don't know that. So I'd say Pep because he's the best I've ever seen. I'd take Pep all day long. Player that we came close to, there was reports we were going to get him. We spoke, but he blatantly rejected us. Would be, there's two. We were linked to Dennis Bergkamp before he went to Arsenal. I would have loved Bergkamp at Spurs all fucking day long. Brilliant player. And the other one, we're going back now. We're going back in time. For any of you old heads in the chat, there was a striker for Marseille called Jean-Pierre Papin. Oh. Fuck me. I would have loved him at the club.
Oh gosh, now we're going back to the early 90s here. I mean, he was in the same French team as David Ginola in the mid 90s. So wow, yeah, listen, I mean, for me, I would have loved, I'll keep it recent. I would have loved Slot. I know we tried to talk to Slot, but I think he rejected us.
Slot.
I would have loved Slot. And players, I mean, take your pick. I mean, it's been rumored over the years that we were in for, you know, Morientes, and we were in for Sadio Mane, and we were in for this player and that player. And, you know, I'm going to go with a player I wanted. I really liked the idea. Oh, hang on. Do I go there? I don't know what to say. I really would have liked Morientes at the time. I feel like apparently we were close. I don't know. We're always close, aren't we? I would have taken Morientes. But listen, good question.
Good question, yeah.
Really good question. Big up to you, Alexander, as well. Guys, by the way, please smash the like button. Come, guys and girls. I was talking to Stel about this before the show, about what has happened to this fan base on YouTube in the last couple of weeks. 46 likes from 230 people. That is absolutely diabolical. shouldn't have to ask. Get those likes up. We should be on 100. Let's get them in. Let's get to the next question, Stel. It is from JS. I said, if we did win the Europa League, where would Ange rank in Spurs managers? I'll let you take that first, Stel.
Yeah.
Where would Ange rank?
First of all, we're not going to win the Europa League. I'm not doing this again. I was told about top 4, Carabao Cup is ours, FA Cup, and I kept dismissing it and explaining why we are not winning the Europa Cup. But for the sake of answering your question, because you have put a question in, if Ange wins the Europa Cup, I wouldn't put him up there because this is the easiest Europa Cup to win because there's no Champions League teams dropping into it. Previously, before, the Champions League teams that finished third in their group stage would drop into the Europa Cup, and often they would go on and win it. So it's easier now. We're only dealing with lower level teams in leagues that aren't in that top kind of 2-3 bracket. However, to win a trophy at Spurs, and it is a major trophy, you can't deny that's a serious achievement because every other manager, Poch had chances, Redknapp had chances, Martin Jol had chances, Conte had chances, Mourinho had it stolen from him, the chance, because he was sacked before the final, but other managers had chances. So if Ange does it, I would put him on the same level as someone like Terry Venables, that level. Not Keith Berkhamshaw, not Bill Nick, no way. But a Terry Venables, Juan de Ramos level, yeah, because he's won a trophy. I can't deny it. I've been banging on about I want trophies. If he gives me, a Spurs fan, a trophy, I'll put him on that level. I will, because for him to win this trophy, he will have to beat either Ajax or Frankfurt, and then he will have to beat Lazio, and then he will have to beat either Bilbao or Sociedad. That is no joke. Like I said, if he won the Carabao Cup, he would have beat City, United, Liverpool, and then Newcastle. That's no joke. So I would have given him his props for that as well. But he's not going to beat those teams. So
yeah, I think I agree with you. For me, I think that if he wins the trophy, first of all, I'll do a video saying, Ange, really sorry. Thank you very much for the trophy. Brilliant. And he'll always have a place in folklore. For me, though, what it doesn't mean is he just gets carte blanche to do this again next season in the league. Like, I've got to be really clear about it. It will give us a great night. It will be a great trophy. He'll go into the echelons of managers that have won a trophy at Spurs. But for me, I'm still not enamored with him because he's not doing what he needs to do in the league. But can't take away from any manager that wins a trophy. It's just instantly he'll become, on paper, one of the best managers there's been for a success point of view. Does that mean I think he's one of the best managers from a stylistic point of view and from results? No, but from a success point of view, it will. Let's go to the next question. Thanks for that question. Really appreciate that. Loads of different ones. And this is kind of followed on from the same theme. Is Alex has said, question, Ange goes unbeaten in the Premier League from now to the end of the season. Yeah, good luck with that. Gets us to a Europa League final that we lose by the smallest of margins. Would you still be bothered if he kept his job into next season? I mean, still 11 games. Let me just remind you, we've got Liverpool away, Chelsea away, Villa away, Wolves away, West Ham away. I think we've got Fulham, Bournemouth, Brighton, 11 unbeaten apparently.
I've said all season long, I will only begin to give Ange any kind of respect if he can go 5-6 games winning on the trot, not drawing, winning in the Premier League. He hasn't done it once. And it doesn't matter how many times I say it, it just seems that fans forget everything. We won 3 games in a row in the Premier League, and all I heard was we've turned the corner, Ange ball's back, we've got a couple of players back, we're going to go on a good run, we've got Man City next, we're their bogey team, it's going to be 4 wins in a row. What happened? Okay? I've just accepted now. We are a lunatic fan base. We are nuts. We're just crazy. It's logic doesn't exist. So we're not going to go 11 games unbeaten. Far from it. I would say this. Ange should have gone ages ago. If he doesn't win the Europa, he should be sacked, because this would have been the most disastrous season going back to Juan de Ramos, after the year after Juan de Ramos won a cup, because we're going to finish mid-table or below, trophyless and without Europe. This is exactly where Ange started when he came 2 years ago. He came in 2 years ago. So if we don't win the Europa Cup, Spurs will be exactly where they were 2 years ago, having spent £350 million to go back to where we started. He has to be sacked if he doesn't win the Europa. There's no sense. You cannot justify it. I don't get the logic that backs it up, Savva. I don't get it these days.
I agree. Shameless plug, just really quickly. If anyone hasn't subscribed to my second channel, please do. We're closing in on the first 1,000 in exactly 2 weeks. So I'm pretty proud of that. We're nearly at 1,000 subscribers in 2 weeks. So I just need a couple of hundred more to make that. I say nearly. I'm 200 away, but it's not bad for 2 weeks. If you haven't, please do. It really does help. So please, the link is there and it's pinned. So thank you very much. And please subscribe to Tottenham Away. I'm sure you have. If you haven't, please do. Next question we have got is, I think this is an interesting one. Big up to my mate Gaurav. Hope you're doing well. So if Glasner wins the FA Cup, would he be on the top of many elite level teams? I think what he means there is, would he be on the kind of on their radar, I suppose. And if you don't mind, Stel, I'll go first with this one if that's all right.
Yeah.
I think Glasner's a superb manager. I think he organises a team brilliantly. I think he's another manager goodbye, Stel. I think he's another manager that if you look at his squad, if you look at the finances they have, if you look at the players at his disposal, I think he does a brilliant, brilliant job. He's got, he lost in the window. He lost Chalobah because Chelsea took them back. They didn't even replace him. So he just did something within the squad to replace him. They lost Elise in the summer, yet he still got them playing well. He still got them. Do you know how well organised they are at the back? They've got like the 4th best defence in the Premier League. He's won a European trophy as well, this manager. So for me, I think that he's already on the radar of big teams. I think they'll have seen now that he can do it in the Premier League. And I think that he'd be a great appointment for a bigger team. That's just my opinion. And I'll add on, I would take him at Spurs in a heartbeat. And his tactics would be absolutely superb with the players we've got. Stel, do you agree with that? Do you disagree?
No, I agree. So my friend Victor, shout out to Victor if you're watching.
Big up, Victor.
He's a Crystal Palace fan. He lives near the stadium, and Crystal Palace have never won the FA Cup. They've never won the League Cup, whether you want to call it the Milk Cup, the Carabao Cup, the Carling Cup, same thing. They've never won the league. They've won the Championship and the old Division 1 and Division 2. They've never won the top tier football. They've never won a European trophy. Okay, if he wins the FA Cup, that is literally the most successful occasion ever in the history of that football club, and he would have done it. So he's right up there if he does it with that lot. And don't forget, he won trophies in Germany before he came to the UK. He won the Europa Cup, I believe, with Eintracht Frankfurt. Did they beat? Was it Glasgow Rangers they beat? I think.
Yeah.
I think it's Rangers.
It was. Yeah.
They beat Rangers. So, you know, when's the last time a German team won the Europa? I don't know, but he done it with Eintracht Frankfurt, who aren't one of the super clubs of Germany. They're not Dortmund, they're not Bayern, they're not Leverkusen. So he's done it with them. Listen, he's a serious manager. He's a serious manager that's never been given a big job. So I think if he wins the FA Cup with Crystal Palace, you will have a couple of bigger clubs looking at him, no doubt. No doubt some bigger clubs will be looking at him. So yeah, he's good. I like him. I like the way he's got them structured. They're just his teams are structured, and he took him time to settle in. I remember a lot of people coming into the chat here saying, "Oh, you two are bigging up Glasner. Talk to us now about him." I thought he's the main man, and I remember saying, "But hold on, he's lost his best player, Lise, to Bayern. Eze's injured; he's not on it. The guy's lost his best centre back, Anderson. He's had to. Let's see. I said, let's see at the end of the season. Well, they seem like a very difficult team to play at the moment. So he's doing something right.
They've conceded 33 goals all season, and they've won 9, draw 9, lost 9. So they've lost 5 less games than us. Listen, I agree with what you said there, Stel. I love teams that are organised. I don't like that I watch Spurs and I see us just so wide open. I'm embarrassed by it. But look, we've no more questions, please. I've got loads stored up. So please, no more questions. If you put it in after this point, they won't get answered. I just saw this from Dean S. Big up Dean has said, since Glasner first Palace game, Bournemouth 0.60, goals for 62, goals against 50. Palace 0.60, goals for 64, goals against 47. Fulham 60, goals for 57. Brentford. Yeah, listen, I would take any of the managers of those 4 clubs you've just mentioned. All right, Dean, I would take Iriola, Glasner, Silva, or Frank. I'd take any of those managers. Look what they do with lesser resources. Look, let's go to the next question, shall we? Spurs King, big up to you, has said, if all centre-backs are fit, which 2 would you choose to play with long term? Which 2 would you go for? So we've got what? Davis, Van der Ven, Romero, Danso, and I guess you could say Phillips and Vuskovic will be here next season as well. So what's your 2 if you've got to pick 2?
Van der Ven and Romero. They're my 2. Out of that bunch, Vuskovic is a kid. No idea what he's like in the Premier League. He's smashing it in a minor league, but this is the Premier League. Phillips, again, haven't seen him play. Ben Davies, no chance. Dragusin, for me, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. His profile is all wrong. That leaves us with Danso, Romero, Van der Ven. I think there's an argument maybe for Danso, but I need to see more of him. So just based on what I've seen so far, it'd be Romero and Van der Ven. But I do think there might be an argument for Danso. But I need to see more. I need to see more games with him play.
Yeah. I would go with Van der Ven. If we're talking long term, I'm going Van der Ven and Danso. Don't get me wrong, not to say that I don't want better. I think Romero, as we did a whole piece on him this morning, I think he's a liability. I don't think he wants to be here. I don't think he's ever fit. I don't think he's ever available. I think that he cares more about his country. So for me, I quite like Danso. I quite like that he's just a normal, steady defender. He's not a sexy name. It's not a great big £70 million signing. But for me, yeah, he might make the odd mistake, but he gets on with being a centre-back rather than trying to be a maverick. So for me, I'd go with those 2. But good question. Yeah, lots of people talking about Vuskovic, Alf. I think a lot of people are just seeing him pop up and score a few goals, not actually looking at he's a kid and I don't care what goals he scores. I don't care how many corners he heads in. I care how good is he as a defender. So for me, I think I would want to see him loaned out to a better team next season and see what happens. Next question is from Ellie. Big up Queen Ellie Hoybier. So seriously now, who for you was the scorer of the most spectacular goals? I guess, I mean, we'll answer this, one in the Premier League still and one of all time, if you want, just to throw some names in there.
What? So we're not talking Spurs, we're talking...
I don't know. Well, what? Maybe one for Spurs. I'll tell you what, one for Spurs, one for the Premier League era. There you go. One for Spurs, one for the Premier League era.
All right. I think for Spurs, Gareth Bale all day long. The amount of ridiculous goals he scored was, whether it's individual dribbling, long-range curlers, volleys, overhead kick. I mean, the guy was insane. We're talking spectacular, right? Not the best scorer, but spectacular. Then, yeah, Bale. In terms of Premier League,
I've got one name. Can I put it out there and see if you agree?
Yeah, go for it.
I all that keeps coming back to I thought about the Yeboahs. I thought about those types of people. And then all I could get in my head was Matt Letizia. I just kept getting Matt Letizia popping into my head with goal after goal from 30 yards, 25 yards.
Do you know what? I'm gonna ask Google a question. Who's won the most goal of the month? Competitions.
Yeah.
Let's see what comes up.
I'm gonna put my boy Letizia in there. Go on.
All right, so it's only for the Premier League era. It's giving me the answer, and it's Mohamed Salah.
Is it Mo Salah?
Yeah, but to be fair, well, it is goal.
I'm going to put 2 in there. I'm going to go with one. People are going to hate me for. I'm going to go one with Thierry Henry, and the other one I'm going with was Matt Letizia. I just do you remember Match of the Day's goal of the months, and there'd be like 10 to pick from, and like 5 of them were Matt Letizia. Like do you
know what? I agree. You know, thinking about it, I'd probably go Matt Letizia. I'd go Matt Letizia. I would, yeah. Matt Letizia. Yeah,
it's rude not to. Do you know who else? Just a little mention, right? For someone, I always was brought up on the notion that, you know, you can be a scorer of great goals, but not a great goal scorer. Peter Crouch wasn't a great goal scorer, but every now and then, Peter Crouch pulled out a banger from somewhere. Like he just pulled out a banger.
Mate, look, you could put Beckham scored some bangers. You could. Do you know a player who didn't score many goals, but when he scored, they were just dynamite, was Paul Scholes. In fact, Steven Gerrard used to score screamer after screamer, man.
Yeah, man. Oh, listen, there's been loads of them. There's been so many.
I'm going Letizia. We'll go Letizia. We agree on that one. Let's go Letizia.
I mean, listen, just quickly before we move on, what about JJ Okocha? I mean, like JJ Okocha scored some.
He was fantastic. So was that little guy they had at Middlesbrough, Jorginho.
Oh, Jorginho. Oh, mate, listen.
Jorginho, he scored.
Right. Well, yeah. Listen, there's so many. There's so many. I'll just stick with Letizia purely because in my head, when Ellie said bangers, all I can see right now is him flicking the ball over people's heads and whacking it in. Just amazing. Bergkamp, another one who scored loads of great goals. Suarez, Stan Collymore.
Gaza. When did Gaza ever score a boring goal?
No, true. I mean, this guy got some phenomenal goals. This guy doesn't get talked about enough, you know.
He was
this
quality.
Guy doesn't get talked about enough. He had technique for fun. If he played now, we'd probably have all these fans going, yeah, but his running stats aren't quite as good as that.
Mate, Bergkamp used to score phenomenal goals. He was class.
Yeah, Martin, absolutely criminal. Absolutely criminal. By the way, Trevor Sinclair did score one of the best Premier League goals of all time. If anyone remembers it. He did score an absolute banger. And of course, the love of my life in football terms, Mr. David Ginola scored some outrageous goals.
Another one.
But he can't be my answer for every football question.
Listen, Alan Shearer scored some rockets, you know, as well. Alan Shearer scored some absolute dynamite.
Hasselbank.
There's so many, isn't there? There's so many.
Good question.
Do you know, Savva, do you remember a player called George A. King-Clancy?
Class. Man City. Absolute class.
When City was shit, right? King-Clancy was fucking brilliant. Like, what a player he was.
Do you know what? Back in the day, do you know who scored?
Kanu was brilliant as well.
Scored some absolute brilliant, more individual solo runs than bangers. But remember Darren Huckabee?
Darren Huckabee, yeah.
Darren Huckabee.
Yeah.
Like,
even
there was
Eden Hazard scored a lot of individual brilliant goals.
Zola. Oh, God, listen, let's stop. We'll be here all day. Yes. Wayne Rooney was there. Marouane,
Rooney.
Shamak. Right, let's get to the next question. Ellie, thank you for your thought-provoking question. I do like a thought-provoker.
We gave you 30 answers, Ellie. There you go.
I'm not going to, Angus. I'm not going to. Angus asked, big up Savva Stel. Ask Stel who's better, Henry or Kane. Stella, have you heard about this debate that's been going on for the last 48 hours?
Harry Kane is a better number 9. Thierry Henry is a better football player.
I'm not even going into it, Angus. I'm not going into it. I'm not getting into this.
That's my honest answer. Thierry Henry was a better football player.
I'm doing it with Stel as well. Big up to you. Big up. Guys and girls, don't be tight. Smash the subscribe button on my second channel and this channel as well, please. And by the way, yes. Yeah, not this. Sorry, not this. This is what I tried to click on. Yeah, this guy scored some absolute worldies. And this guy wasn't too bad either, was he, Ronaldo? Look, let's get to the next question. Next question. There's a good one. Marios has said, would you swap Romero for Guehi? My answer is 100% every day of the week. Yes. Stel, would you?
Yeah, Guehi's available. Romero's always injured, man. And Guehi plays for his club. Romero, as soon as Argentina comes calling, he's gone. So, yeah.
Yep. He's always available. And do you know what I like about Guehi? He's just a proper defender. I feel like with so many of these defenders now, we caveat with, but they're good at bringing the ball out or they're quick. He's just a proper defender and he's a leader. He's a leader as well. So, yes, all day from me, Marios. Thank you very much. Here's a good question from Jay Ashraf. Good afternoon to you or evening, depending where you are. Hi, Savva Stel. If we don't secure European football next season, so essentially if we don't win the Europa League, do you think a few of the players will look to leave considering we don't need a big squad? So it's something that not enough people are talking about. If we don't get European football, we've got all of these kids now, and I don't know how they're all going to get a game. So what do you make of this question?
Yeah, we'll trim the squad. We'll trim the wage bill again, 100%. Look, Romero looks like he's off. Iggy thinks that Vicario's off in the summer. I don't know where he got that from, but that he said that on Monday. He thinks Vicario might be off. Look. This is what we were saying. If you're not going to bring through the youngsters from the academy, but you're going to keep buying youngsters, Odebert, Tells, Bergvalls, Vuskovics, Phillips, right? What do? You are blocking the pathway. I think Savva actually clipped this. In fact, Savva, I think, clipped this and put it on his channel, the youth debate. Go watch that debate we had the other night, because otherwise I'm just going to repeat myself. But 100%, I agree with Ashraf. We would definitely have to look to trim the squad.
Yeah, listen, absolutely. Listen, Dean, I'm going to respectfully disagree. I don't think a player that is inconsistent as Romero can be called better than Guehi, who for me is consistent every game. Just my opinion, mate. Just my opinion. I think he's the most overrated defender I've ever seen in the Premier League, but that's just me. Where are we? The question was, listen, I think the difficulty we're going to have, Jay, is we've got all these young players coming through that people keep saying, well, in 2 years when they develop, sure. Okay, so let's run the scenario. Spurs aren't in Europe next year, right? You have got Lancashire, Scarlett, Mikey Moore, Wilson Odebert, Yang. You've got Devine. You have got Bergval. You've got Gray. You've got Vuskovic. You've got Phillips, right? You've got Adogi, who's 2021. Kinski. You've got all these young players.
Villiers, Donnelly, Dorrington, Olajeji.
Exactly. All of these young players. So that's about 15 or 16 young players, and we'll be playing one game a week. So what suddenly happens to Bentancur, Basuma?
They're not going to play.
Romero, Van der Ven, Adogi, Spence, Porro, Madison. Do some of them leave? I think so. I think the Romeros leave. I think that Son leaves. But this is a big problem if we don't get European football next year. This is a huge problem if we don't get European football. Just saying.
Yeah.
Next question.
100%.
The next question. Where are we? _95. It said, what's the point? Kinski and Werner are travelling to Alkmaar, but they're not registered to Europa games. I guess
is that fact or is that just Twitter rumor?
I don't know. Have you seen video of them getting on the plane? Listen, I guess it's squad unity, right? More than anything. I guess, what does it cost them to take to listen. They're paid by Tottenham Hotspur, whether they're in the squad or not. They're paid. It's their job to be in and around the club, in and around the squad. I don't see anything wrong with it myself. What do you think, Stel?
It doesn't bother me. I couldn't care less. I just care about who he picks to start and the end result. If I'm honest with you, to me, it's Kinski. I get because he's a young kid. It's good to have him around the environment. Werner, I would have left him at home, but again, if he's there, I don't care.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Ethan, big up to my man, Ethan. Oh, we kind of did this just now, so I'll put a different slant on your question if it's all right. Said, players that Spurs have missed out on that you're most disappointed about. Look, for me, if we go to his last sentence there, Stel, I never understood the number of Spurs fans that poo-pooed the idea of Dybala joining. He's just a brilliant footballer.
I don't get it.
Just brilliant. And all I heard was injuries. He wouldn't do it in the Premier League. And every game I watch Roma, he's the main man. So
he was the best player when we played them in the Europa, Savva, on the pitch. Dybala was pulling all the strings.
Yeah, he was very good indeed. He really, really was. This is an interesting one. Mr. Clean, I like that, as opposed to Mr. Dirty, has said, who do you think will win the Europa League? Stel, you've categorically said it's not Tottenham. So who's winning it?
I think Athletic Bilbao.
Okay.
I think they're the best team in the competition. And my second favourites, I'll give you that as well, is Lazio. One of those two for me will win it. If they don't, I'll be genuinely stunned if one of those two don't win it.
I think it's going to be the winner of the Roma Bilbao game. I think I make Bilbao favourites, but Roma are very good. Since Dilly Ding Dilly Dong's gone there, they have just gone like that. Have you seen? I believe if the stat I saw the other day was correct, they were like the top. They were top of the form table over the last 20 games in all competitions in Europe. Since
right. So Roma are currently 8th. Ranieri went there when they were 12th, so he's moved them 4 places up the league table. However, Roma. Did you
see how many points they were behind?
Well, I was about to say there's 4 points that separate 6th to 8th. So, and they haven't lost in the last 5. In fact, they're the most informed team with Juventus in Serie A. They've won 4, drawn 1. So only them and Juventus have got perfect records. Oh, and Atalanta haven't lost in 5. So they're definitely banging form, no doubt. They're banging form.
Yeah, listen, I think they're a very good team. And listen, just one to watch out for. I mean, Foxy said, and Jose returns to Roma to knock them out. I mean, look, Jose Mourinho is in the comp, right? He's in the competition. Now, I don't make Fenerbahce favourites, but no. Jose Mourinho's just got this little knack of doing things, hasn't he? So keep an eye on that, people. Spurs versus Fenerbahce in a final. That would be hilarious, wouldn't it? Jose versus Ange in a one-off tactical
We would
battle.
lose. We would lose. 100. I would put money on Fenerbahce to somehow just nick it. They'll do it.
Yeah. And by the way, there are 3 of Jose's ex-teams that he could face in this tournament, by the way. Like he could play a Man United, Roma, and Tottenham Hotspur. So this is going to be interesting.
Savva, you just know, right? You just know if Fenerbahce were to beat Spurs in either, we can only meet them in the final, right? Yeah. If the unthinkable happened and it was Spurs Fenerbahce final, which is not going to happen, but if it was to happen and Fenerbahce won, you just know without any hesitation, as soon as it's the post-match conference, he will mention Mr. Levy. 100% he will drop Mr. Levy in his post-match conference and just take a big slap across our faces.
Oh, mate. There's part of me, if it's not us winning it, part of me kind of wants Jose to win it. Because Jose, for me, is the ultimate pantomime villain. But unlike most pantomime villains, he's backed it up with an unbelievable CV. Like he's backed it up. When he talks, people should listen. But listen, there's some good teams in it. Lazio, Roma. You know,
Mourinho is one of the greatest football managers of all time. He has won more than Spurs. As a manager, he has won more silverware than our football club. He is elite. Okay, he's not at the level he was, but he's up there with Ancelotti, with Pep, those managers. He's in that conversation, man. You hate him as much as you like people, but he's in that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Crazy times. By the way, guys, I will be, we're not going anywhere just yet. I will be live tonight. I don't know what time I've set the show for, about 7:45 on Big Up. And by the way, anyone who joins that stream later will be gifted big bucks by the owners of Big Up. That's the word I'm looking for. Essentially, I'll be brutally honest with you. If you get big bucks, it means that I make money. I'm not gonna. There's no two ways of sugarcoating that. If you get big bucks, it means that it's spent on me. But listen, we're all winners and we're all happy and we're one big family, aren't we? Next question. Let's look at the next question. Where are we? We are here. Colin Mad Murdoch, I said, Solanke to leave, chaps. Thoughts? It just seems to be more fluff to fill columns. I've not seen this at all. I've not seen this anywhere. I don't know if you have, Stel. Seen anything about Solanke leaving?
No, I haven't. And he won't be leaving. He's in a long-term contract. He's only just signed for us. Solanke will be here for at least 3 seasons. So,
yeah.
Listen, Howling Mad Murdoch, I don't listen to the journalists. I don't listen to the press. I don't listen to anyone who claims to be ITK. They've got it catastrophically wrong for the last 2 windows. They don't know what they're talking about. It's all clicks, likes, and just sucking people into gossip. Let's just wait and see who we sign. No one said we were going to sign Tell. No one said we were going to sign Danzo. No one said we were going to sign Kinski. We got told we're going to sign the guy that went to Juventus. We got told we were going to sign some English goalkeeper. We didn't sign him. No, I don't believe it. No.
Yeah, I've just Googled Dominic Solanke and looked at the news for the last 48 hours. I can't see it anywhere, my friend. Listen, I don't see him going anywhere. I wouldn't care if he went anywhere, by the way. I think he's okay. We did this the other night. I think he's okay. But, I haven't seen any news. However, things can change very quickly in football. If we don't get European football, who knows? People might be sniffing around. We will see. Where are we? Here's a good question. Tommy Castillo has said, who's the most overrated player of all time? Wow.
What, Spurs? Should we just do Spurs? Because we could.
Yeah, do Spurs, because otherwise we could be here all night with that question. Most overrated player of all time.
Do you know what? I'm really, really tempted to say Brennan Johnson. I really am. The hype he gets, the fact he's got a song, Johnson again, ole ole. I think he's such a bang average footballer. It beggars belief. I think he's such an average football player. He's in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
I think, he's for me, he's up there.
I think this guy is also up there, by the way. I do. I think Bentancur is up there. But by the way, that's not to say that I don't think some of these players are good players. I'm talking about the overrating of them. Brennan Johnson, absolutely. He gets raved about. I think Pedro Porro gets absolutely raved about.
Do you know who's overrated? And he gets praise all the time. Steady Eddie, 6 out of 10. I just think he's crap. Ben Davies. I don't understand how we think it's okay to have players of that caliber at Spurs and then say we're going to win trophies. Ben Davies has been part of the 10-year problem. He's just as much of a common denominator as Daniel Levy. You know that. Ben Davies is part of the problem. Him, Mason and Levy, they just seem to always stick here and we win nothing. I'm going to go Ben Davies. Because he's nice and he's polite, doesn't cause trouble.
I don't think he was ever overrated still. I think that's the difference. I think with Ben Davies,
I don't know. Fans say good performance, solid pair of hands, good to have off the bench, good backup, good 6, 7 out of 10. I hear a lot of praise for him. I just feel, nah. Not for me.
I think, listen, if we're going, I think, listen, naturally, I think our fan base overrates everyone. Like, from our fan base in the last 2 years, I've heard how Kulu would get into any midfield in the country, how Bentancur should be playing for Pep Guardiola at Man City. I've heard how Udogie, Porro, Van der Ven and Romero are the best back four in the country. I've heard how Dominic Solanke, you watch how great he is. He's brilliant. What a player. Ange Postecoglou is the greatest manager of all time. Yet we're sitting 13th in the Premier League table.
Kulu's the best midfielder in the league. That was the best one.
So it's difficult to say because we kind of overrate everyone.
Savva, I'm going Ben Davies because I've been hearing this for 10 years. I'm going Ben Davies. That's my choice. That's my answer to the question, Ben Davies.
I'm gonna go with. I mean, if we're talking in the current setup, I think Kulu is massively overrated. I honestly think we talk about Kulu and Romero as though they are absolute top players, and I don't think they are. I'm going with them. If I go for one from the past, overrated. Or...
What about underrated? Who's the most underrated player at Spurs in the last 20 years? Is he underrated though? He went to Man United and won everything.
I don't know. Just whenever Spurs fans talk about great players, I very rarely hear Michael Carrick's name. And he, for me, was one of the... I'm going to say this still. I think he's one of the best midfielders the Premier League's ever seen. And the fact he played for 10 years in Man United's midfield while they won everything. They won everything. And since Michael Carrick left, not been the same. I'm going to put it down to Carrick and not Fergie. Just kidding on that bit. Just kidding. But I thought Carrick was an absolute superb footballer. And can you imagine him right now sitting in front of our back four?
Yeah. Do you know who I think was underrated? He was better than maybe what anyone ever gave him credit for. I'm not saying he was brilliant, but I thought he was a good player, man. I really, really liked him as a footballer. In fact, no, he was underrated. Do you remember we had a striker called Freddie Canute?
Oh, class.
Right. He never ever got any high accolades or went to any big clubs. I thought Freddie Canute, a bit inconsistent, but I thought Canute was a really good football player, man.
Yeah, listen, I agree. And Foxy, by the way, I think
Carrick was top.
Michael Carrick was the biggest casualty of the whole Gerrard Lampard nonsense for England. He was the biggest casualty because if any top manager had gone in there, they would have said, hang on, Michael Carrick plays centre mid for the best team in the country in Europe at the time, right? Man United. He's going to be my number one midfielder. You would have stuck him in front of the back four and had him there.
I don't know if you guys remember. There was a massive game at Highbury, Spurs versus Arsenal. Arsenal versus Spurs. I think it was the game that Spurs had to win to finish above Arsenal. I think we drew. I think we went 1-0 up, then it was 1-1. It was the last game of the season. It was a big game. I remember Martin Jol was manager. And Michael Carrick, go back and watch this, guys. I'll never forget this. Michael Carrick got the ball. He went round 4 Arsenal players from deep midfield, travelled with the ball. It was an unbelievable dribble. And he wasn't really renowned for dribbling. Yeah. Got into the box, got his shot away, but didn't put it away. It wasn't a bad shot, but it just wasn't quite good enough. If that went in, fuck my life. He would have been a hero. But the fact he had the ability to do it at Highbury against one of the best teams back then, Arsenal, under Wenger, go back and watch that Carrick move. And then I think that will make people realise how good Carrick actually was. He was a top player, man. Probably one of the best English players. You don't play. He was up there.
You don't play for a decade for Sir Alex Ferguson in midfield, winning everything if you're not good. You just don't. You simply don't. He's a brilliant passer for the ball. By the way, listen, a little big up to you, Mark. Big up to the Sheriff. I'm not having that. I don't think he was underrated at all. I think he was okay. He was okay, and he's going to live off the hat trick in Holland. I agree with this. I think Asuakoto was a really good fullback.
The problem with him though was he kept doing interviews saying, "I don't care about football, don't give a shit. I'm just here for the money." So I think it kind of killed him a little bit with fans.
Yeah. Nico Cranshaw, really good footballer. Really, really tidy, good footballer. And listen, Harry Redknapp trusted him wherever he went. Let's get Nico and the gang back together. So we've had a few underrated as well as overrated. But hey, it is what it is. Foxy said, what about Chorluka and Malbronk? Listen, I think Vedran Chorluka would have been one of the best defenders I've ever seen at Tottenham if he had a little bit more pace. But as an actual defender, not a lot went past him. He was very good positionally. Can you imagine him in this back four that plays on the halfway line?
Fuck me.
Just be mental.
I'll tell you what, Proximo, I think, has nailed it on the head. Moussa Dembele. I agree
with his first half. The second half, I don't agree with. When you say much better than Carrick, first of all, they're very different footballers. They're very, very different footballers. Second of all, one played for Man United for a decade and won Champions Leagues, Premier Leagues. The other one, his best ever was Tottenham. So I'm not knocking Dembele as a player, but Carrick was class.
In the Spurs academy, the young kids, when they teach them the skills have got names. So you've got the Cruyff turn, you've got the Ronaldo chop, and then you've got, inside, outside, step over, all different names. Moussa Dembele has got his own skill named after him. They teach the kids the Dembele.
Brilliant.
They actually teach. It's essentially, I receive the ball, the defender's behind me here. I step this way, swivel my hips, and then spin the other way.
Yeah. I can see it now.
That's vintage Dembele, right? They teach that. When you have a skill named after you and it's taught in academies, you were good.
Yeah.
You were good, right?
Dembele was, listen, but I find it when people put two players together that don't do the same thing. Like Dembele's game was not Michael Carrick's game. What a midfield it would have been if both of them had played together. Because Carrick was more of a let me sit and dictate the game.
Carrick connected the dots.
Yeah,
Carrick just kept us ticking, connected the dot. Whereas Moussa Dembele just kept possession and made sure no one broke through the lines. So
completely agree. Where are we? Let's get a couple more questions. We've got another 10, 15 minutes or so. Rinketic has said, is there any special reasons to why some forwards don't take on people anymore? And I'll tell you what, Stel, this is a massive bugbear of mine. And Spurs are the greatest example of this. Players who get the ball out wide, or they've got one man to beat, and it's stop, drag it back, pass inside. It drives me potty, and that's 2025 for you.
The reason for this is because if you look at Mikey Moore, he's got no problem taking on players, right? He gives it a go. Some academies teach it. A lot of academies have stopped teaching it. The obsession with coaching pass, move into space, pass, receive the ball, check your shoulder, turn, pass. We are coaching dribbling out of the game. This has been going on for 10 years, and I saw it happening in the academies. A good example, Jack Grealish, he's a dribbler. The guy's a baller. He went to Man City. It's a possession-based team. Yeah, take on a man, but then release it or shoot.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it when you win a treble. It works, okay? The player in the system works. But when you're looking at individual dribblers, but we grew up watching the Maradonas, the Zizus, the Ronaldinhos, and so on and so on and so on and so on, it's been coached out of the game. The very few players now are doing it because everyone's pass. But if that pass gets you trophies and wins games, you can't knock it. But for us as fans who want to be excited and see that flair player, that Ginola, that Gaza, it's been coached out of the game. It's down to coaching, guys. I've seen it firsthand. I've watched it. It's all down to coaching. Kids are not encouraged to take on a player and take risk because we are focused on developing results as opposed to developing highly brilliant footballers and then putting those together and saying, right, they're going to get results because they're all brilliant, which is what Galacticos was. it's not about that anymore. It's the coaching mindset is different, which is
I agree.
I listen, it's preference, okay? I preferred the old way because it excited me. And I loved watching elite level dribblers, but you know.
Can I? Sorry, this comment. I'm going to say it. This comment for me is: tell me you don't know what you're talking about without telling me you don't know what you're talking about. Carrick was not great. Sideways, backwards, sideways, backwards, sideways, backwards. Not a match winner, which is why he rarely played for England. Massively overhyped. First and foremost, not a match winner. You do know what his position on the pitch was, right? Like, why would he be a match winner? Second of all, I've just looked at his stats. Listen to this, Stel, right? Listen to this. He won 17 major honours with Manchester United. 17. He was in the PFA Team of the Year, right? Twice, right? He was Man United's Player of the Year, right? This guy played 400, let me get this right, 464 games for Sir Alex Ferguson in midfield for Man United. And we're going massively overhyped. He wasn't great. Like, what are we doing here?
What did England win without Carrick?
Yeah. Oh, what are we doing? What are we doing? If we're saying he's not a match winner, couldn't we throw that at everyone? Couldn't you throw that at Dembele? Couldn't you throw that at Modric? These people aren't on the pitch to be match winners. That's not their game.
In the prime years of Sir Alex Ferguson, he never signed a player and kept them unless they were good, like really good. Example, he signed a player called Podolski, didn't work out, shipped him out pretty sharpish. Fergie got rid of players quick if it didn't work. Carrick was there for quite some time, which means he was a good player because that Man United team wouldn't tolerate substandard players. No chance. Not back then. So, especially the ones that started. You might have the odd one that's not all that, that's a squad player, but Carrick was a starter. He started consistently for Man United. He was a good... Listen, you might say, look, he's not as great as you make him out to be. That's fair enough. But to say he's not a top player, Carrick was really good, man. He wasn't Ronaldo. He wasn't Zidane. He wasn't elite. But he was fucking... he was good,
somebody who doesn't understand football saying that Carrick went sideways back. Do you know what? Do you know what Spurs actually need in their midfield? It's someone like Carrick that puts their foot on the ball and doesn't do things at 1,000,000 miles per hour. Right? It's absolutely crazy. Anyway, we'll move on.
Sorry,
I love
Savva. I said Podolski. I got the name wrong. There was the striker with the long hair. Forlan. Sorry, Diego Forlan. There you go.
Yeah, Forlan. Yeah.
Beg your pardon, guys. I got the name wrong. Diego Forlan. I had the picture in my head. I got the name wrong. Diego Forlan went there. Didn't quite work. See you later. That's what I mean. Fergie didn't muck about. Carrick was there for a long time for a reason. Sorry, guys, I got the name wrong.
464 games, but yeah, he wasn't very good, even though he played for the best team in the country at the time. It's absolute. Man U won in that period that Michael Carrick was there, by the way. Man United won in terms of Premier League trophies. They won 1, 2, 3, 4. They won 5 Premier League trophies in 11 seasons that he played for Man U. Like, yeah, but not very good. People are crazy. How many of how many trophies has Phil Neville? Well, Phil Neville wasn't a bad footballer. I don't. But what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Do you know what? I think people forget what Spurs were like 20 odd years ago. We were out of Europe. We weren't even in Europe. Martin Jol, with Carrick in the midfield, got us back into Europe. Spurs wouldn't have been a European team again if it wasn't for Carrick. He impacted us. We were never going to be more than that because we weren't a club that was buying top players. But Carrick was one of our best players. There's a reason we got back into Europe. He was one of those reasons. That's why Man United said, yeah, we'll have that. And look at the players Man United took off.
Look at the price he went for, Stel. Like, we bought him for 2 million and sold him 2 years later for 18. At the time, 18 million was not what 18 million is now. At the time, that was
No.
huge
Big
money. Anyway,
but
as I said,
Berbatov, right? Fergie took Berbatov off us, and Man United only took top players from Spurs.
yeah.
They never signed a crap. They got Beckham. Don't forget Beckham. They took Beckham from Spurs. They took Beckham. They took Berbatov. They took Carrick. I think they were all pretty good, man. I don't know. I think they were pretty good.
Do you know what? In every show, we have someone in the chat who tries to be clever, but what they don't realize is all the 300 people in here right now are looking at that person going, what a bit of a dick. But listen, fair play to that person. By the way, I'm going to call all of you dicks in a minute. 289 people still in here. Only 134 likes. Come on, people. We should be at 200 likes. Far quicker than what we're doing at the moment. Look, let's get to this question. I just saw one that I liked. Where was it? Where was it? Where was it? This is a great question. The top 3 DMs in the Premier League era.
Claude Makelele, N'Golo Kante, and
can I just caveat something quickly here? We talked a little bit about DMs this morning. I think it all depends on what version of a DM you want. If you want the DM who is your actual defensive kind of anchor, or do you want your quarterback DM like a Rodri? Because they're very different types, but Rodri's my number 1 for me. I think he's an amazing footballer, Rodri. I think he's
in fact, Savva, Rodri, N'Golo Kante, and Roy Keane.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, look, I love it. Angus can't answer a question without it being an Arsenal player. Like, he genuinely can't. Any question you answer, Arsenal is the answer.
I don't look at Vieira as a defensive midfielder, though. I looked at him more of a 6/8. I thought he was more progressive. Yeah. I don't call him a defensive mid, but if he was, I'd put him in the group. I would. Yeah. I don't look at him as a DM.
For me, I would say, listen, there's been loads and they're all different types. Listen, I love Rodri. I think he's the best. I've said it many a time. I think he's the best footballer in the world right now. I think he's absolutely brilliant. But you've got loads of others you could put in there. You've got Roy Keane's. You've got Kante's. You've got you've got Essian's. You've got Makelele's. You've got Fernandinho at Man City. Look how good.
Listen, Wanyama as a 6 was pretty good, man. As a 6,
there's loads that you could.
Might not have won anything.
And then you've got more. I think the difficulty as well as we move forward through the eras, right, is back in the day when it was 4-4-2, it was very different, and we didn't really have 6s, 8s, and 10s. Do you remember, Stel? Like, you had 2 centre mids that did everything. So I know that the youngsters today have an absolute fascination with 6s, 8s, and 10s. But if we're going into the modern era where it's gone to more of a 3-man midfield, you've got loads who can be in there. Makelele, Rodri, Carrick, Essien, Fernandinho. Oh, there you go. This funny enough, Vieira, Kante, Rodri, Carrick. Listen, there's been some top. Does anyone remember? I'm throwing a dark horse. Of a great footballer that I'm not going to put them on that level, but came to this league and made it look all very easy. Do you remember? Ivan Campo?
Yeah.
Just watched him play, and just went, "Why are you at Bolton? Like, you're, you know what I mean? Like you are head and shoulders."
You make a good point, because the game's changed. So, for example, if we were going to go back in time when teams played 4-4-2, he's not technically gifted. He's not an eye-catching player, but Paul Ince for Man United.
Paul Ince.
Right. And for England, Paul Ince was really good in that specific role. And then you've got, Angus wants to, Vieira. If you want a proper number 6, for me, if you want to talk about Arsenal, mate, Gilberto Silva was mustard.
Really good
player.
Right?
Gilberto Silva as a 6 over Vieira for me. So it depends what we're looking for from the 6 and what era of football we're playing in. Ince isn't even in the equation of most of the names we've mentioned. But back then, when they played that kind of rough and tough, rip your head off football, mate, you want Paul Ince. Yeah. And he did it for England. Don't forget, England got to the Italia 90 semi-final. We were a penalty away from getting to a final, World Cup final. Paul Ince was our number 6.
Not in Italia 90, he wasn't.
Wasn't he in Italia 90?
No, Paul Ince would have been down the line with Hoddle and that. So in Italia 90, the midfield would have been Platt, Robson. Oh, hang on, Stel's gone again. And I said to you, that you said he was not great, which I think is crazy. He's one of the best midfielders the Premier League's seen. So yeah, I did get it right. So when you're coming into my show telling me I've got a problem with reading, I quoted you and said you said he wasn't. You said he's not great. Like crazy. I'll tell you what, somebody else that was on the tip of my tongue, and I can't even think now. There's been loads of really top players, by the way. Alexander with a horrible take. Alexander, if you speak to any of those Man United players that played with Roy Keane, the first thing they say about him was that he was a brilliant footballer, right? Forget his leadership. He was a brilliant footballer, Roy Keane. He could do it all. He could score goals. He could pass. He could tackle. He could dictate games. He was a top footballer. Do not get it twisted, mate. Honestly, do not get it twisted. I think that might be a bit of revisionism there, saying he wasn't a top player. He really, really was.
Savva, you're right. Paul Ince wasn't in that squad.
No, Paul Ince would have been just after that. So you would have had the likes of, Brian Robson, David Platt, Neil Webb, maybe.
I'm looking now. We had Des Walker at the back. We had Gary Stevens at the back. Midfield, Brian Robson.
Yep.
Yeah, no, fair play. I thought it was Italian 90. Fair play.
Yeah.
I take it back. I still think Paul Ince though did a job at that role for a period of time though.
Oh, for sure, Paul Ince was a great midfielder.
Wasn't he part of the Man United team that won their first Premier League title? He was part of that team, wasn't he? With Bruce and Pallister and that lot. Yes,
92, 93 that year.
Yeah. I think he was in that team, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, Daniel 90. Yeah. If anyone, Roy Keane was a top player, top footballer.
I did say Roy Keane. I did say that.
Yeah, top footballer. Xabi Alonso. What a good footballer Xabi Alonso was as well. Didier Hamann. I mean, Didier Deschamps played in this country, and somebody we're completely missing, Marcel Desailly. Who played centre-back or defensive midfield. One of the best players I've seen, Marcel Desailly. He was top draw, Marcel Desailly. But listen, there's so many we could mention. So many. Mark the Sheriff just wants to say Gary Mabbott's name at every opportunity.
Why not?
So, yeah, my mate Grime Garage owner. I wonder who this is. You know when you see a name and it's a new name, but they talk a lot and you think, oh God, I know. You think I've seen you before in my chats. I mentioned in Speed Batty, all better than Carrick. David Batty was not better. I can't get into it. Inter Milan have just scored in the Champions League, by the way, against Feyenoord, against Robin van Persie's Feyenoord. Just so you know, they're just looking at it now, I think, for offside. I don't think anyone is. But, yeah. Still, I am going to leave the show there in a minute. But, listen, there were loads of questions we could have got to, didn't have time to. But, hey, listen, Stel, give me a score prediction between Tottenham Hotspur and... Oh, dude, listen, just quickly. Dude, I'm going to block you. Yeah, it's really, really, really annoying. You're turning into one of those dicks who comes into the chat and you just talk at me and I say it's Wednesday. You're going to tell me it's Thursday. I say my name is Richard. You're going to try and tell me it's not. You're that sort of a person. You're being a dick. Go away. Go away. Stel, score prediction tomorrow night away in the Netherlands. What's it going to be?
It all depends who we start, doesn't it? So, I mean, I think we knock them out, but in the second leg, I'm going to go 1-1. Score draw.
I think we're going to win comfortably tomorrow night. I think it's going to be 3-1. I think it's going to be 3-1. I don't rate this AZ Alkmaar team. I fully expect us to go through very comfortably over 2 legs. And if he goes out to this team, which I don't think he will, it will be the height of embarrassment. And of course, Angus doing Angus things. AZ 1, Tottenham 0. Stel, thank you very much. When are you next live? When can people catch you?
Thursday, about 5 o'clock live on YouTube for a watch along, which goes on to Big Up, and then late in the evening back on YouTube for a post match show. So 5 hours, 6 hours, whatever on Thursday.
I would say everyone get over there and watch that, but I'll be doing my watch along. So stay here and watch that. But
there's about 15 watchers. Take your pick.
Take your pick. Right, guys, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Other than the one dick in the chat, we always get one day. Right, I'm gonna have a show where we don't have any idiots in the chat. We nearly did it tonight. We nearly did it. Apart from that one bloke, Almas Guna says, "Sam, I can ask you not to bring Lee Gunner here." Nope, I'll bring Lee Gunner here. All I like. Thank you very much, Stel. Thank you very much. Take care, please. Everybody, get over. Subscribe to Tottenham Away. Subscribe to my channel and my second channel. Much love. Take care. And as always, Ange out, Levy out, Enoch out, Lang out, Munn out.
Everyone out.
Everyone out. But come
Everyone
on,
out.
you Spurs.